Good morning, everybody. It's been a little while since I've taken you on a tour, and I'm out here finally enjoying a little bit of sun after having quite a few days of rain. And I wanted to get the yard cleaned up just a little bit more before we buckle down for the winter freeze and all of the snow that's probably going to be coming in like 2 weeks. And I figured I would kind of chat about what we do to kind of prep our homestead, as well as just give you a visual of what things look like. If you're like me, you might get a little bit bummed out when your garden is looking a little bit empty, but that's just a stage that you have to go through. And I figured by bringing you guys along and showing you what I don't have might give you a little bit more peace of mind if you're new to gardening and you aren't really sure what to expect in these transitional periods. So if you like that kind of thing, follow along because the tour is about to start. I am currently back here in the wood pile, just making sure that everything is organized to some type of standard. So we started putting some piles together that would kind of make sense for what we're going to tackle come spring. So we have quite a few logs to still chop up, as well as just some leftover construction material that we'll do a dump run probably before the snow hits, and just organizing this space as to the best of our ability. As you can see, we've been having quite a few fires, so our wood pile is dwindling just a little bit. Of course, we have a lot more, but we can certainly top these guys up. Not sure if we'll get to it in the fall, but certainly in the spring. Another thing that we've done is we've gone ahead and collected all of our garden tools. We don't currently have a little shed where we store those items in, just because it was taken by more personal items as opposed to garden tools that can withstand a little bit of weather. So that's what we've done with that. We've also begun to pile as much wood as we can in one central area, just so it's out of the way, and when springtime comes, all of this area here that isn't really filled in with grass, we're going to be doing some major TLC on the little spots that are there. I love when the leaves come in. They're from our neighbor's tree, but can't complain. It feels very, very fall. Moving along though to our garden beds. I did have a pumpkin, but he turned into a snack. I haven't cleaned him up yet and cleaned up this trellis system, but that's on my to-do list after this little tour video. I will be leaving some things in the garden right until frost. So these flowers that are still producing a ton of seeds as well. Wait for these to dry out in the next couple of days and then we'll save some. General weeding needs to be done. That's something we certainly like doing after a rainfall. So although it's cold on the fingers, just put on some gloves and get to it because you'll really appreciate it come spring. In here, we have not addressed the a million tomatoes that have popped up, but we do have a couple peas and then one patch of lettuce still in this garden bed. As you can see too, we've been getting quite a few presents from the squirrels. If you see rocks and whatnot in your garden bed and you know you did not add them, chances are they were a gift. So I guess we're supposed to appreciate the fact that we have tons of gifts in here, but I won't really worry too much about that. This side here, we had a couple of volunteer onions, and we must have forgotten to pull them when we had the onions in this bed. And then our basil is still going really strong. This is going to be another one of those things that I just kind of leave until the frost because it's beautiful. I've been able to get quite a few seeds from this, so I will definitely be growing it next year. I love the purple. This bed is kind of just boring. Not a whole lot in it, just some fallen leaves. Got some loud birds behind us. These logs will be leaving along here. We do like a couple just for seats and whatnot. So until we plan what we're going to ultimately use those big logs for, they can stay there. We have collected all of our buckets, all of our trellis systems, and kind of put them out of the way. Been addressing our compost. We got tons just waiting. A little bit of a mess there. We've also put on our frames on our garden bed. We haven't covered. We'll probably wait for the first serious frost or the first snowfall that melts, and then we'll put some cover on these beds. But we do still have a couple carrots in here that we haven't pulled yet. We have been snacking on them for dinners and for lunches, so I don't know, we're just extending our harvest as best as we can. This side here, our new keyhole, we have planted some radishes, but they're certainly becoming snacks for all the insects and all of the rodents that we have around here, and we don't mind. We pulled a couple that were good and we roasted them for a dinner not too long ago, but for the most part these are just going to be compost. What I do want to do though is collect all of these kind of tools, including that one, and we'll put them away. Same with clippers that we randomly leave out, and just make sure everything is more or less tidy. This section here too also will get a cover, but as you can see, we're trying a cold compost style in here. So cold compost is when you just layer organic material in the bottom of your beds. You fill it up with all of the goodness, I guess you could say. So long clippings, some sticks, some past plants, flowers and whatnot. And then what we're gonna do is, after the snowfall hits and covers this all up, in the springtime we'll add a couple more layers of organic material, and then we'll put some compost, and then we'll put some soil, and we'll plant directly into this. And then over the time, all of this will break down underneath and hopefully provide our garden with some nourishment throughout the season. So this is a new thing that we're trying in our beds, just because the previous ones were mostly filled up with some of them were filled up with some sticks and some filler material, but the majority was filled up with the good dirt, and that can get some pretty expensive after a while. And looking at our finances, we spent quite a bit on dirt, and although dirt is great to spend money on, it's not necessarily where we would like to spend our money. Over here, our garlic is doing well. We planted it at Thanksgiving weekend and labeled everything. For the first night, we did cover it for about 2 days with a tarp because we had some pretty intense rain. But we figured since they've had about a week, 2 weeks to process, that this past rainfall we had, well, they were on their own for. In here, we did plant some bulbs just at the back, but the sprouts that you see are some straggling along lettuce and some straggling along spinach. So both of these beds here had that. Not sure we'll get much from them this year, but that's okay. The final bed still has some things in it. So we have a bunch of kale at the end there, and then we have a bunch of beets. So we've also been eating the beets from here, and some beets that I don't think are gonna have enough time to produce. So we've still been pulling the ones that have been good for little roasting for dinners and whatnot. So 2 beds that still have some goodies we can harvest throughout the year. Likewise though with our herbs, we've covered them in some mulch just to keep them a little bit warmer. Flower garden bed, not doing so hot, but with all that rain, it tends to knock off all the petals. One thing that is pretty exciting though is we are still getting raspberries. I don't know why. I thought raspberries were only a spring thing, but now I've realized we get them all throughout the year. So I had knocked back both of these plants quite significantly, but since we're still producing next year, I'm gonna be a lot more mindful of that, and I'm gonna ensure that I don't knock back the plants because I would like raspberries all year. Sunflowers still made it. These are cosmos, so they pop out a bunch of blooms. So some will make it, and then some will get knocked off by the wind and the rain. Zinnias have seen better days as well. I'm still pretty grateful though to have some flowers and some color in the garden, because this section certainly does not have it. Same with over here, we cut back all of our grasses and more organization. So that's pretty well all that's going on back here. Let's take you up front and show you what's going on. And don't mind our spooky decorations that are destroyed by the rain. But the garden up here at the front, it stays so green for so long. I'm so thankful. These are luneras, as well as a corkscrew hazelnut. On this side here, our bushes seem to have overgrown, but I don't mind. We talked about doing a chop method in this section here, as we eventually want to add some organic material to make sure that we can start gardening in this section. And then in this section here, everything, normally I would cut back, but this year I've left everything, and to see all of this green is still really, really nice. So I've quite enjoyed having everything, I guess, sticking around for a little bit longer. Exciting stuff too. We added a few new beds up here. So this is just some mulch laid down with some structure, and in the new year we'll add some compost organic material as well as adding some dirt so we can properly plant. We just wanted to get the shape started, we just wanted to start some weed control, and we wanted to just outline everything so it just looks more visually appealing. Our center garden, minus the ginormous weeds that are popping up at the front here, is still doing pretty well. There are certainly some things that have seen better days, but because of the cold, we also have some things blooming. I might try and save some seeds from this Calaris because I think it would be really cool. Oh, that one actually has quite a few blooms, but these are producing seeds like crazy. If you shake them into your hand, they start spreading. So we're also saving some seeds from that. Then over in this section here, kind of the same thing, just doing some weed control on the garden on this section and just prepping it because pretty soon in the new year, we're gonna be planting a whole side garden here. We have a bit of water that comes into this area, and we just wanted to ensure that we were planting some plants that use that water as opposed to just having hummus. So that's what's going on in the front yard. Also not too exciting, but hope you've enjoyed this little tour. I almost totally forgot. That is the result of pests. But this is how you can control them. My husband and I planted quite a few bulbs, enough bulbs that we weren't comfortable leaving them, let's just say, for the new year and for the rodents to have a field day snack. So we had the smart idea of getting a bunch of chicken wire, putting it over this section of garden, and then we actually just attached the side with some tent pegs that we had kicking around. So we hope that this is going to be rodent pest free, because as you can see, they certainly were not very friendly to my Halloween pumpkins, and Halloween is on its way, and we brought in 3, so hopefully we'll have a couple, and I won't put them out until the night of. So thanks for coming along with us. We're going to head on back to the backyard again and finish cleaning up. Have a great day.